President's Cup play underway Thursday from Royal Montreal. The Americans wasting little time painting that scoreboard red, white, and blue. A clean 5-0 sweep in opening fourball. There have been 71 sessions all-time at the President's Cup. Thursday marking just the 5th ever sweep of a session. As you take a look at those lopsided results, the final American point, notably offered by next year's Ryder Cup captain, Keegan Bradley, curling one in from distance. For more, CBS golf analyst and host of the First Cut podcast, Rick Gehman, joining us from Montreal. Rick, not exactly spirited competition, but it was, if nothing else, spirited in moments. Take me to that Scheffler-Henley-Kim Im match. The internationals trying to create a spark, if you will, in the midst of the match, but felt a bit manufactured. What'd you see there?
Yeah, indeed, and there's something about these team events where there's juice that has to happen. You see that the Europeans, especially through their crowd at the Ryder Cup, they're often able to get that juice hours before the first tee shot gets in the air, and you could see that the internationals, specifically Tom Kim, were trying to generate something, and the option that Tom Kim took was to kind of poke the bear that is the #1 player in the world, Scottie Scheffler, and it quickly backfired. Not something you generally want to do. It was chalked up afterwards as, you know, two guys who play together a lot in Texas, having a little bit of fun, but it's not a great look when you try to poke the bear and then the bear eats you, Joe.
That's certainly how that one played out, and you're now looking at a 5-0 scoreboard, and the American side with opportunity in front of them in some ways. USA priced as heavy favorites at the outset, now every bit of untouchable in the markets. Rick, I get that the U.S. talent pool is far deeper, but we are talking about some of the best in the world opposing them this week. What do you attribute today's dominant performance to?
A lot of missed opportunities, Joe. You know, it's 5-0 on the scoreboard, but a lot of the matches were close enough to be in jeopardy throughout most of the 18 holes. Now, I understand that the international squad only had one match where they led after 6 holes, but there were a lot that went down to 16, 17, and 18, and you just saw basically a 45-minute window in which no putts dropped for the international team. And there is just a moment in these types of events where someone has to do something special. You know, the internationals were at best a coin flip in one of the matches, and they were dogs in the 4 other matches in the opening session. So someone has to do something special. They had a couple of putts that were lipped out. Christian Bezuidenhout failed to make a couple of putts late. That's usually his strong suit. They just did not get anything to go in their direction, and they got the worst case scenario, which is 5 red squares on the board for the Americans.
Rick, before we move on, talk to me about the situation there at Royal Montreal, or rather how things do situate. If the internationals can get a point, get a moment, feed off of one another, do the grounds lay out as such where those roars will be heard and felt and maybe feed into other matches?
Oh, indeed. Yeah, the course is not, it's not European in the way that it would just kind of go out and come back in. It almost circles back on itself. So there are times where the front 9 and the back 9 are crossing paths. So yes, it would be very obvious, and it is obvious as the courses of matches are changing out there at Royal Montreal. So yes, it is a very good course for momentum, and the back 9 with a ton of risk-reward shots is the place for that to happen. So we just need a spark. That's all we need for the international squad. Obviously, it is going to be an uphill battle, but they've got to get something going, or else this is going to be embarrassing. And very early on Sunday will this thing be over.
We're just trying to leave that thread out there to be pulled on by the internationals. We're not saying it's wrapped up, but 15.5 points gets the job done, and already a big chunk of that claimed by the Americans. This could, in some ways, serve as a proving ground for next year's Ryder Cup for some of the American youth on that roster. Give us a group you plan on following on Friday, taking in all the action.
Yeah, there's a couple of things here. The second group out, I think, is going to be critical. The first group out is Xander Schauffele and Patrick Cantlay. They are going to be very difficult to beat from an international perspective. The final group is Scottie Scheffler and Russell Henley. They're going to be very difficult to beat. It's those 3 in the middle that the internationals have to win. They have to get at least 3 points in this Friday foursomes. And I look at Adam Scott, who is playing in his 11th President's Cup, pairing up with Taylor Pendrith, who was significantly the best player for the internationals in the opening round. He just wasn't able to get any help from his partner. He made 7 birdies and he lost his match. It wasn't his fault at all. They're going up against Colin Morikawa and Sahith Theegala, which I think is just a fascinating pairing from the from the American side. And this is the opportunity that the internationals have to put a black and yellow flag on the board. They've got to get 3 points on Friday, or we can just start tweeting out the Vince Carter gifts right about now.
I think Kyle Porter has already put that one out into the interwebs. Rick, I know how you do these weeks. A lot of steps out in front of you these next few days, so do me a favor and enjoy yourself a poutine as well. A little smoked meat on top. What do you say?
Appreciate you, brother.
Rick Gehman, we appreciate you as always. And for the continued conversation, be sure to dive into the First Cut podcast. Rick Gehman, the whole gang, each and every week, taking you into the biggest conversations the game has to offer. Download and follow the First Cut podcast.